Please be seated. Parents, teachers, special guests, Director General, and most importantly, you the students, welcome to the graduation of 2021. I would like to congratulate all of the students on completing their final 2 years of study during such an uncertain time. You have endured home learning, strict protocols, and of course the ordeal of wearing a mask throughout your days at school. I hope this experience will be looked back on as a period of time where resilience and grit were learnt and can be drawn on as you move forwards in your lives. However, I do not want COVID to overshadow this ceremony. I wish it to be a positive celebration at the end of your fantastic achievements. Each year I spend considerable time trying to find a topic to discuss at graduation. Find some words of wisdom and something which I hope will fulfill or help you fulfill your lives as you move forward. I've spent hours on the internet, hours looking through books. And after a lot of consideration, I'm going to run through with you the Code of Conduct. Ecoland's Code of Conduct on the first day at school. But please bear with me. It's not as bad as it sounds, I promise. So, the Ecoland Code of Conduct has 4 elements. I'm going to go through each of these briefly. Number 1, respect yourself. This is crucial as you fly the nest and move away from home. You need self-respect as a constant point of reference, and for me, there are 3 elements which are worth considering. First of all, self-worth. This is a sense of one's own value and worth as a person. Self-esteem is your subjective evaluation of your own worth. And finally, self-respect itself, which is the pride and confidence in oneself, a feeling that one is behaving with honor and dignity. These are all really big concepts. So along with these 3 concepts, I have 3 ways of addressing these. Firstly, surround yourself with supportive people. You have all heard of me talking about fountains and drains. Surround yourself with fountains and be a fountain yourself. Positivity promotes positivity. Tune into your true emotions. Attempt to understand how you truly feel. And do not let others deflect from your moral path. Find what drives you and then engage with it every day. If this passion is your work, then you will wake up excited every day of your life. This is not to be underestimated. If you find yourself doing something which does not inspire and engage you, don't be frightened to change direction. Number 2, respect others. Once you have enabled your own self-respect, you can then project that onto others. The way you treat others is really a mirror on yourself. If you see situations taking place which are not respectful, then you need the strength to call these out. This is something that this year group in particular has done on numerous occasions. It takes strength, courage, and commitment to do this. But in doing so, you have made us and our community a better and safer place for everyone. If you're the person that's being called out or called in, you have to listen. Listen and take on board what is being said to you and truly reflect. There are many members in this year group who have truly made me reflect about myself, our institution, and our wider community. And I truly thank you for that. Number 3, live sustainably. You're going to get my geography teacher just for a few minutes. Environmentally, consider your ecological footprint. That's how much land is required to produce what you consume and absorb the pollution you create in global hectares. Humanity is currently using approximately 1.6 Earths, and those of you who have followed individuals and societies and science courses will know all about this, and also about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. These goals may seem too large and out of your control, but everyone can have an impact by choosing how we behave and how we live our lives. However, also consider living sustainably for yourself and for your mental well-being. Take the time to look after yourself. Keep fit, eat well, find time just to be in the moment and at peace. If you are struggling from time to time, don't automatically blame yourself for not being strong enough. Perhaps consider what others are asking of you. It is important to understand that it's okay to find things hard and to seek support when you need to. The final one, number 4. Be an ambassador for Ecolin. Essentially, I think if you follow the first 3 rules, you will always be an ambassador for Ecolin. When ex-students return to school or I bump into them, they often comment on the unique experience they had at Campus National, and they did not recognize it until they went out into the wider world. I really hope that when you look back on your time here, that you see a place of supported growth and development. I also understand the importance of the grades that you will be receiving this summer, and these grades enable you to move on to the next step of your lives. But please, remember, these grades do not define you. You are all worth so much more than that. Above all, I hope Ecolin has helped you to become a good person. You will forever be part of the Ecolin family, and I hope that you will go out into the world and, as our mission states, be global citizens with courage and capacity to create a just and joyful tomorrow together. To finish off, I have a few thank yous. First of all, I would like to thank Nandine, Jasper, Sintra, Ethan, Peter, and Anna for the hard work and commitment you made to represent your student body. Working with you as a student council was absolutely fantastic. Your positive impacts will be felt by the students for a long time to come. I normally avoid calling out and highlighting individual students, but I would like to say a personal thank you to Naomi, Shay, Aji, Z, and Jade. The impact you have had on myself and this school will be felt for many years to come and will not be forgotten. Thank you. Next, I would like to thank your mentors and your head of year, Mr. Kinghorn. We are all looking forward to his speech, for the support that they have given you over this time. People often forget the importance of what we call pastoral care and the careful monitoring of students as they grow up and develop through the school. I would also like to thank all of the teaching and non-teaching staff who have worked so hard as a team, especially over the last 18 months to keep the school open, courses accessible, and helping students through this time. You have all done a superb job. I would also like to thank the admin staff, Kova, Brian, Federica, and Claire, who were instrumental in keeping the school running smoothly and organising this event. I would also like to thank your parents for all the support that you have shown over the years, not only for the school, but also for your children. And the graduation committee who have worked so hard. It has been so difficult this year to make this event possible. And finally, I'd like to thank you, the students, for making our community truly what it is. And with that, I would like to wish you all the best for the future. Please keep safe and please keep in touch. Thank you. Now, I thought this was going to be live, but I now have the pleasure and privilege to announce a musical interlude by Sophia and Nandine, performing a piece entitled Spring. Thank you.
Guest speaker today is an Ethiopian national who grew up in Geneva and holds a bachelor's in engineering and economics from Brown University. Additionally, she is a founder and partner of Efficio Consulting, which is the world's largest procurement consultancy operating with 10 offices globally. Today, she is here to impart her personal reflections on living and working internationally, as well as the impact of the Ecolon experience as a proud LGB and Preny alumni, and additionally, the former president of the Ecolon governing board. It is my honor to introduce our guest speaker today, Malay Razwork.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Lovely. Mr. Williams, teachers, staff, parents, families, and friends who are watching us online, and most importantly, graduates of 2021, I am so pleased and honored and proud to have been invited to address you on this momentous occasion. The culmination of 13 years of study, the completion of your secondary school through the rigorous IB program is a moment to be marked and celebrated, and I'm thrilled to share this moment with you. I wanted to share a few words about my background, as I think we may have more in common than meets the eye, despite my age. As the student mentioned, I am an Ethiopian national. I moved here as a baby. I'm the child of a UN and NGO father and mother. I spent 4 idyllic years at Preny. Any of you attend Preny? Nice, yeah. So for your information, it looked exactly the same as it did now, psychedelic orange with that awesome playground. Then off to the big leagues at LGB, which was a bit of a shock to the system. Bigger, louder, rougher than Nation, but a great experience. And I had the joys, as you did, of working through the IB program. It was bad enough then. I cannot believe they'd added the IA and CAS. My condolences. That's pretty crazy. But I can honestly tell you, having lived it, this is the hardest you'll have to work. College and university, frankly, will be a breeze, especially the first year in comparison. After studies in the US at Brown and an MBA from INSEAD, I moved to London, started the company that I work for now. I'm married to a Dane, and I have 2 kids in this school, Blaine and Yellen, in year 12 and year 10. So all this to say, my experience at Ecolon played a big part in my life choices and my journey. And I thought it might be interesting to compare notes as you now make your way into the world as a fellow Ecolon alumni. The question, where are you from, is one I used to dread. The answer is so long and complicated. I came from one culture, grew up in another, was educated multiculturally, and I used to think I belonged nowhere. Ethiopians don't consider me authentically Ethiopian. I certainly am not Swiss, nor British, and I used to envy my freshman year roommate in college who could answer that question with one word, Wisconsin. It took me many years to realize, as I hope you will, that rootlessness is actually a strength. You may feel you don't belong in one place, but I've found that means, personally, I can feel at home more or less anywhere. Growing up in Geneva, and at the international school where there is no single dominant nationality, means you're used to not being in the majority. You've juggled home and school culture, different languages, possibly different accents for some of you. And trust me, this is actually a very valuable asset. As you leave the Ecolon bubble and pursue your studies and work, you'll find this adaptability is hugely important skill that will serve you well. It will make you interesting socially, and it will differentiate you when you're applying for jobs. Lean into it, build on it, and seek out opportunities to work in international or multicultural environments. Your background will really truly help you shine. You're now in an environment that wants you to succeed. You didn't have to pass an academic exam to get to be admitted to Nation. You've been encouraged to follow the IB curricula, and most importantly, as a student body, you've collaborated in teams, been supported by your family and teachers and the whole school community to fulfill your potential. Success is rarely a lonely feat. In addition to hard work, you need opportunity, support, and a sprinkling of luck. After Ecolent, you may find yourselves at times in settings that are more explicitly competitive, where your success requires others to fail, and where you'll be encouraged to beat others. It may be that some of you find that alluring and stimulating, but I think you'll find that the most exciting environments are ones where your success comes from lifting others and teaming together to solve problems and achieve things together. These are typically organizations or relationships that are thriving, innovating, growing, and where people have fun. Places like this school that you're leaving now. School friends. As you embark on your new lives, many of you will take that opportunity, I'm sure, and I hope, to build new friendships. That's great. I'd like to predict, though, that many years from now, when you reach my age, you'll find that you'll have kept a core group of friends from Nation, or the other schools at Ecolent, for life. My closest friends today, with whom I celebrate big birthdays, are friends from Ecolent. And I had the joy of meeting my classmates in 2019 at a world reunion here in Geneva, some of whom I hadn't seen since graduation in 1987. It was a blast. And we picked up right where we left off. Your school friends have seen you at your most awkward, your most carefree, childish, vulnerable. They understand your unique background and don't get fazed by it because they share it themselves. These are friends who get you at your core. Nurture these relationships as you head off your different ways. I wanted to finish off by focusing on today, on your accomplishments in reaching today's graduation. You've achieved so much as individuals and as a cohort. And from speaking to your teachers and some of your parents, I understand that you've really gelled as a group, helped each other over the past few years, lifted each other's spirits, encouraged each other, and celebrated each other's successes. You should be immensely proud of yourselves. It's not just what you achieve, but it's how you achieve it. Your teachers, your families, and all of us in the community are so very, very happy for you and proud of you. You're the best of National spirit. We're all very excited to see the life that you will forge for yourselves and for those around you. Congratulations, class of 2021. You did it. Well done. And now, I'd like to introduce a musical performance by Tafria Taiba. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be performing a song called Borisho Dhara Majhe Shanti Robari, which means let on the earth rain showers of peace. This is a song written and composed by Rabindranath Tagore, a Bengali Nobel laureate poet and polymath who was also the lyricist and composer of the national anthems of both India and Bangladesh. This is a song about purity and peace. Hope you will enjoy this small effort of portraying my Bengali culture in front of all of you. বরিশো ধরা মাঝে শান্তির বাড়ি বরিশো ধরা মাঝে শান্তির বাড়ি শুষ্ক হৃদয় লয়ে আছে দাঁড়ায় শুষ্ক হৃদয় লয়ে আছে দাঁড়ায় ঊর্ধ্ব মুখে নরনারী বরিশো ধরা মাঝে শান্তির বাড়ি বরিশো ধরা মাঝে শান্তির বাড়ি না থাকে অন্ধকার সুধরা মাঝে শান্তির বাণী কেন এ হিংসা দেশ কেন এ ছদ্মবেশ কেন এ মানবিমান কেন এ হিংসা দেশ কেন এ ছদ্মবেশ কেন এ মানবিমান বিতর বিতর প্রেম পাষাণ হৃদয়ে বিতর বিতর প্রেম পাষাণ হৃদয়ে জয় জয় হোক তোমারে বরিশধরা মাঝে শান্তির বাণী বরিশধরা মাঝে শান্তির বাণী শুষ্ক হৃদয় লয়ে আছে দাঁড়ায় শুষ্ক হৃদয় লয়ে আছে দাঁড়ায় ঊর্ধ্ব মুখে নরনারী বরিশধরা মাঝে শান্তির বাণী বরিশধরা মাঝে শান্তির বাণী বরিশধরা মাঝে শান্তির বাণী
Is it on? Yeah.
Hello. Okay. Hello? Yeah?
Yeah, you're good.
Dear Year 13s, we did it!
There are a few exceptional events in history that mark the resilience and strength of humanity. Among them, the conquest of Mount Everest, the construction of the pyramids of Giza,
And most importantly, this year group's completion of the IB.
teachers watching, welcome to the 2021 Year 13 graduation.
Nations' first ever outdoor graduation! We are here to celebrate our achievements, have a good time, and above all, embarrass our fellow classmates.
Now, we're going to be honest. Writing the speech in the first week of our summer vacation was not the start to the summer that we envisioned.
While brainstorming how to approach this endeavor, one idea that stood out among the rest was what we would tell our 16-year-old selves in year 11, about to start the IB.
If only we could turn back time. However, unfortunately, our dear physicists, Hiroki and Yanu, have yet to invent a time machine.
Nevertheless, these lessons that would have helped us 2 years ago may just be the things we need to hear 2 years from now, when starting a new chapter in our lives.
And for those who may need to consider taking the exams again, well, listen closely. If I had to tell my 16-year-old self one thing, it would just be, don't miss your exams.
You would think that'd go without saying after Miss Juniper's 400th assembly on exam protocol, cementing in our heads no gel pens,
No latecomers,
no fake COVID scares,
and no Tipex. Right, Clara C. And yet, many among us cannot follow these simple instructions.
Picture the paper 3 exam for higher level math. A handful of tired students at 8:30 a.m. impatiently waiting to get this final math exam done with and listening to Miss Juniper telling them to empty their pockets.
The exams start. 1 hour goes by. 1 seat remains empty.
Meanwhile, Michael is sitting in his bedroom, sipping on his first cup of coffee of the day, casually preparing for what he thinks is a 12:30 exam. Do not worry, Michael did finally make it to the exam. But the lesson for our younger selves remains. Learn your exam timetable.
Perhaps one of the most important pieces of advice we'd give to our 16-year-old selves is that during such an intense period of academic time, it's important to continue pursuing your passions and fight for what you care for.
Apart from also maintaining good grades,
Finishing your IAs,
completing CAS,
maintaining a social life,
writing the EE,
and attending all of your classes, of course.
we want to take this opportunity to celebrate the spectacular accomplishments of our year group. Among other people, Aji, Shay, and Naomi took on the immense task of addressing racism in our school community, speaking to the whole staff about how these issues affect students.
They have set the example of how young people can take matters of global significance into their own hands and make a difference. Academic achievements beyond the classroom distinguished our grade as well. Last June, the Beamline team, represented by Peter DeSalis, Peter Strunelin, Sarah, Michael, Yanu, and Hiroki, competed in a physics competition hosted by CERN.
Over 200 schools competed, but this group of students placed first, and they were able to carry out their proposed experiment in laboratories in Hamburg. Woo!
This we'd love to share with our 16-year-old selves as an example of pursuing your passion despite the stresses of the IB.
Unfortunately, their project didn't provide us with the suitable technology to communicate with our younger selves, but I heard it's in the works for next year. Right, Peter Strunelin?
Other students pursued their passions in the outdoors, showing perseverance in its truest form in the Duke of Edinburgh International Award.
Jasper and Nandine, for 3 years, continued with the seemingly endless hikes and tasks that the International Award required, not to mention Damien's unrestrained motivation to keep them on track.
Hafiz, Ellie, and Arthur decided to join for the Gold Award, hoping to experience pure wilderness.
However, all they were met with was constant rain,
Muddy terrain,
disagreement within the group,
annoying Swiss mountain guides,
and all this the weekend before mock exams. Sounds like a fun experience which our 16-year-old selves would thoroughly enjoy. Throughout the years at Nations, there has always seemed to be an unspoken sense of competition between DP and CP art students, which reached its height in the art exhibition in April.
The question is, does it really matter whether the art is created by a CP or a DP student? Or is a more important factor actually the artist's own individual expression?
If only we could have at least seen the CP artworks in our Leavers Assembly, had Mr. Perry not accidentally forgotten to include them in the video. One thing we'd like to tell our 16-year-old selves is that you don't need to be you don't need to be an art student to be creative. Imagination and ingenuity are crucial for students trying to make excuses to get out of class.
Who could forget when our long-lost dear Pedro was late to physics? Was late to physics because his cat was giving birth. He truly set the bar for our younger selves.
One important thing that I've learned to pass on to my younger self is that you'll never be able to escape the chaos and immaturity of teenage boys, whether you're one of them or not.
Today, our grade comes across as tame, mature, responsible. But there was a time when this was not the case, and our reputation was slightly worse.
I mentioned it in year 11, and I'll mention it again. These are the legends that dangerously and famously walked on the balconies in the year 8 medieval trip. They were suspended for a handful of days, and consequently our future teachers dreaded having us in their classes. Right, Mr. Kinghorn?
It was no coincidence that Mr. Brown, in a desperate attempt to regain control of his students, delivered a presentation to his 8-ho homeroom titled,
Why is
8-8-ho
so hard to manage?
This incident was not an isolated one. Ms. Davison once described the camaraderie among the boys as exemplary, after finding over 30 of us crowded together sharing a heartfelt moment in one of the boys' rooms during the year 11 ski trip. Her concern was the potential presence of girls, but of course there was none. However, what she really should have been concerned about was the high-stakes boxing match just starting out as she walked in.
As the story goes, Adam fought Ellie, Frank boxed Hafiz, bets were made and black eyes were received. Right, Hafiz?
We hate to tell you, teachers, Hafiz didn't actually run into a pole in the middle of the night. It was indeed Frank's mighty fist.
One last opportunity remained for the boys' shenanigans in the Year 12 trip to Port-Camargue. Overall, the trip provided a great start to the IB, with lots of beach volleyball, the occasional catamaran that capsized, and some questionable windsurfing performances.
However, the rumor is that during the last night, some wine bottles went missing from the teacher's fridge, and the boys were seen lingering around an unmanned bar. I guess we'll never really know what happened.
As wise Year 13s who have conquered the rigorous program that is the IB, I'm sure everyone here would agree about the importance of organization.
This is something we wish we would have known as 16-year-olds entering Year 12, and will definitely utilize in the future.
Many of us discovered this the hard way, learning the fundamental concepts of a course the night before the exam, even just 2 weeks ago.
Others were smarter and purchased a shiny new note-taking device that would revolutionize our grades approach to organization, the iPad.
At first, none of us could grapple with the concept of an iPad, but after the arrival of a certain Yanu Kim, students were quick to conform to the trend. First, Frank gave in, then Marie-Laura, Aya, Bo, and Sintra were converted.
It eventually reached Arafi and Sean, and even the upper echelons of our school staff could not resist the trend. Right, Mr. Alloway?
Next thing we knew, half the year group had an iPad. And if it doesn't help your grades or planning abilities, well then at least you'll be the most popular person in the library at break times. Right, Yanu?
It wouldn't be a true 2021 graduation speech without any mention of how our world was turned upside down by COVID.
This is certainly something that our younger selves could not have predicted, and let's face it, something that our teachers were not exactly prepared for.
This is not to say that our teachers didn't do the best that they could. Many times they kept us hopeful and motivated during online classes. But there were some limits to their abilities, specifically with regards to technology.
Many will remember Mr. Coates' wrestling with canvas to properly label his economics diagrams, or Mr. Brown accidentally not letting his students into the Google Meet for chemistry class.
Or Mr. Kinghorn simply forgetting that there was So if nothing else, to our 16-year-old selves, it may be worthwhile to encourage your teachers to enlist in technology crash courses with Mr. Alloway. But don't get us wrong, it was not all bad. In fact, coming back to school, some teachers surprised us with their newfound ambitions in technology.
By spring 2021, Miss Asanadine was determined to establish herself as an international TikTok star. Woo! This ambition reached new levels when her Year 13 students were employed as social media assistants and creative directors to her rising TikTok empire. Through her account, Ms. Asanadine was able to spread very informative content, including a clear explanation of the difference between foreboding and foreshadowing in literature. A very insightful piece of advice.
Our younger selves would be well advised to check out her TikTok page when looking to improve their English grades.
With all that said, we feel it is now our duty and responsibility to bring one key topic to your attention.
In one of our last history classes, Mr. Kinghorn recounted a story of his dear uncle, who a week before passing away, became a Jehovah's Witness. Why not?
There is a clear and unwavering moral to be taken from this story. It is never too late to change course in life.
So, drawing from this inspirational anecdote, Mrs. Juniper, we have a very important question to ask you.
Is it too late to move to the non-exam route? It's important to keep in touch, whether that be on the IB Reddit, where we've all spent a little too much time on,
or keeping up with Daniel Coates' spamming on the Year 13 WhatsApp chat, as we've been doing for 5 years.
Regardless of where we're all headed next year, we have one final lesson that I'm sure all of our younger selves would have benefited from greatly.
If you really, really want to be smart, just take the A-levels.
Before ending, we'd like to give a big thank you to all of our homeroom teachers for not only looking out for us in our academics, but also being there when we needed support during these 2 years.
On behalf of the 2021 graduates, thank you, Mrs. Hancock.
Miss Mart. Woo!
Mr. Bottorff.
Dr. Close.
And lastly, Mr. Kinghorn, who has also been alongside us for 5 years as our head of year. From teaching us the fundamentals of pool to serenading us with your flute in year 11, we are so grateful for your commitment to this year group.
And of course, Miss Juniper, the pillar holding all of this together. Your organization has been crucial to our survival in the IB and has kept us in check. I'm sure we can all remember the fear of receiving one of Miss Juniper's emails with only a question mark in the subject line when we came late to class.
So we wish you all the best of luck.
Whether you've been in this grade since Prenny, like Philip Hyland,
Or you literally just joined us halfway through the IB, like Philip Mikosh,
it's been a fun ride for all of us.
thank you.
Next, we'd like to introduce Sofia Yunarilad on the violin and Nadine Ganzurig on the piano.
Zandile Anne-Charlotte Moyeme. Philip Mikosh. Isabella Manelli. Chang Zhou. Mehul Yadav. Mehul, back. Max Gard Tommel. Max, you have to wait. Sorry. Aya Tabet. Lena Sekyu, who also receives the prize for career-related program. Cathal Rollins. Zoe Ringer. Maria Fernanda Plaza Mejia. Sophie Parker. Gael Ondrusek Roy. Adeline Nilsvang. Matt Morley. Yasmina Lucas. Yonu Kim, who receives an Academic Excellence Award. Anushe Azita Kermanshashi. who's hurt her foot. Arthur Michael John Jambon. Vincent Gaudiosi. Naomi Jate, who receives the Principal's Award. Owen Day Clark, who receives the Theory of Knowledge Award. Gemma Batch. Frederick Arnoldi Espinosa. František Strombosch. That wasn't bad. Michael Slepowski, who receives an Academic Excellence Award. Dabin Hyun. Oloise Olifisayo Erabobo. Radinka Siddiqui. Annie Melanie Rodriguez. Mikhail Morica. Thomas Castorine. Kamakshi Bari. Tafria Taiba. Alexander Thompson. Aji Kelly, who receives the Alumni Award. Kyle Vincent Adea. Alexander Batley, who receives the Reflective Project Award. Luca Chance. Ellie Schmidt-Daibate. Yago Perez. Federica Ongaro. Sofia Yunagia. Amy Denton McLennan. A double graduation. Oluwaseun Jadesola Oladopo. James Sebastian Warden. Farah Mahmoudlou. Gitis Salchas. Sintra Horwitz. Hafiz Asisov. I forgot to mention there, Sintra, you also were given the Cass Award. Sorry about that. Dmitry Kruglikov. Evan Halle. Zoe Gill. Piotr Strunelin. Sarah Shafiq. Hiroki Kuzuki, who receives the Extended Essay Award. Sherry Bella. Emma Kathleen Brown. Murtiu Petrodiciu, who receives the Sports Award. Aditya Garg. Doluni Pabasada Kurgakamed. Liv Marie Tissot. Johannes Gobese. Utsav Bal. Daniel Ward. Maria Lara Nicasio Rovira, who receives a motivational award. Jasper Samara Milthorpe, who receives the award for achievement in the arts. Saif Naman, who receives a motivational award. Ethan Gladstone McNabb, who receives the Principal's Award. Camille Louet, who receives an Academic Excellence Award. Elias Firmenich. Bo Fioretta. Ali Fanizadeh. Sean Dessy, who receives a motivational award. Leonardo Alwis. Daniel Coates. Arathi Anand. Anna van der Rey, who receives the Principal's Award. Philip Hyland. Jasper Hart, who receives an Academic Excellence Award. Nandine Ganzorig. Liam Brown. Alexander Strong. Clara Angelica Araújo de Carvalho Dene. Enakshi Anusha Sinha. Who has received the European Council of International Schools Award. Thank you. Emily Giaman Rowland. Killian Gallery. Peter de Salis. And finally, Clara Kawakami Ferraz de Campos. Thank you, everyone. I now believe it's Mr. Kinghorn. Am I right? Yes, Mr. Kinghorn. Mr. Kinghorn. You haven't forgotten, have you?
Sorry about this. Thank you very much. No. That's quite enough of that. So much I wanted to say, so little time in which to say it, of course. It's always the case. It has been a brutal year. It's been a brutal 18 months. The way you've handled yourselves has been immaculate. I think enough's been said about that already. You don't need me to go on about it. There's food and drink waiting. I think, what it's given me an opportunity to do is to actually think about not what I've missed in all this time, but what I don't miss. I think is probably the easiest thing to say. Restaurants and going out, I mean, pay God knows how much for overpriced rubbish most of the time. And when you live with a professional chef, there doesn't seem to be a lot of point, really, Flying. I can't think of a more pointless pastime, frankly. I know it's a necessary evil for most people, but I'm just going to stick pins in my eyes, frankly, than turn up at airports and have to meet the general public. Things like that. It's always rather difficult for me, as you know. The things that I couldn't do without, I think, is what I'm sort of driving at here. Obviously, my wife and daughter, it's been very hard for me there. I would give anything to the three of us to be together, and hopefully that will be the case very soon. Well, the other thing I think, I sort of thought that if, I'm getting old now, so if the worst came to the worst, something's going to happen to me sooner or later. I mean, loads of things have happened to me already. I've fallen off all sorts of things, broken loads of bones and all that sort of stuff. I mean, something serious. I mean, like, I could handle blindness. That would be okay, I think. I could probably handle that. I wouldn't be able to see you, though. That would be a bit of a downer. But on the whole, I think I'd handle that. But deafness, that I couldn't handle. That I simply could not cope if I went deaf. Because one of the things that's kept me going, I think, over the last few months and weeks is the music of Johann Sebastian Bach, amongst others. And those two pieces I just murdered there, originally written for solo cello, of course, many will have recognized them. There's this thought that Bach was a great revolutionary. And there is some evidence, I suppose, to back this up. This is a man who, he had 17 children for a start. I mean, that's obviously pretty revolutionary, I would have thought. But tempering the clavier so that you could play on the same instrument all of these wonderful pieces that he produced in every single key. And of course, he wrote 2 wonderful volumes for this. And there's a school of thought that suggests that Bach is the first jazz musician. And I suppose there's a sort of superficial sort of element to that. You can see in some of the singing bass lines and so on and so forth. You can see, in some ways, the forerunner of what was to come. But you see, the problem with those arguments is that they look okay in retrospect. And as a historian, I can't accept any of that. What I've just said to you about Bach being a revolutionary is an absolute gigantic pile of horse manure. Bach's no revolutionary. What you're looking at here is music's greatest reactionary. And what astonishes me is that people cannot recognize that fact. This is a man whose musical traditions were rooted back centuries, not looking forward, back. He traces his ancestry back through Dietrich Buxtehude, back through Fritz Tunder, Johann Pachelbel, and the unfortunately named Samuel Scheidt. Although, of course, his music was anything but. And as Bach got older, what do we find? Do we find that he takes on all of these new ideas, all these Italian, French ideas? No, we don't. If anything, as he got older, there was an even greater level of regression into his past. And unfortunately, I suppose that's a tendency for all of us in many ways. There is, in a sense, a sort of security in the past, if you like. Things have always been like that, so they therefore always must. Bach was obviously from the Age of Reason, and it's ironic that a time of great progression, getting rid of the sort of ideas of superstition and ridiculous religion that had dogged 16th and 17th century Europe. Instead, you got this new opening age, an age of inquiry, an age of question, an age of rational thinking, critical thinking. And yet, Bach seemed really sort of far removed from most of that. If you were to ask him, you probably wouldn't notice. What did this man do? He got up, he worked, he maybe had a piece of bread, and then he worked. And then when he finished working, he worked some more. That was this man's life. He didn't have time to think about a revolution. But in a sense, I suppose, people like that do more to make them than people who brand themselves as revolutionaries. Just one of those thoughts that occurred to me. The other thing I'm going to find impossible to deal without is being in charge of a year group like this. In some ways, it's absolutely wonderful. In other words, it's absolute murder. It's been an absolute pleasure. I mean, what's been particularly wonderful about this group is that I can literally say anything I want. And some of the things I've said in classrooms just beggars belief, frankly. I don't know what I'm thinking about half the time. Probably because I'm not. It's probably easier not to. Don't think. Just do it. Not once. Well, loads of people have disagreed with me. Loads of people have disagreed with what I say. Daniel, Jasper, SM, Ethan. Particularly nasty arguments I used to have with him. Still do. And hopefully they will continue. But not once has anyone questioned my right to say what I do or the way I say it. And I don't think many teachers around the world can enjoy that. I think, so that's my debt of gratitude that I certainly have to you. There's so many wonderful memories. So many painful ones. I can't help thinking, I know Mr. Williams said I don't want it to be about COVID, neither do I. I've had enough of bloody COVID. They said that the First World War was a generation robbed. Well, that's probably a bit inaccurate. Generation annihilated, more like. But I suppose the same sort of tendency, I think, can be seen here. There is a great sense of regret and a great sense of really what might have been. And when I see these music, I've got some bloody nerve turning up playing a silly piece of plastic for worth 50 pence. When you get, sort of Leonore and Nandine and Sophia. Where is she? Where is she? She's hiding at the back. What are you doing up there, you? It's magnificent. Absolutely magnificent. Can't say any more. It was actually, you're a nuisance. I could hardly play. I was still in tears after you finished. And what I loved about that was that's truly revolutionary. The girls didn't say it, but I'm going to say it. I've played some old bloke in a wig. But the girls decided they would play Clara Schumann, not Robert, Clara Schumann. There must have been Bach had Anna Magdalena, no mean musician herself. But for the girls to do that, I thought was absolutely stunning and sums up in many ways what this year group is all about and what it means to me. I've struggled for words, and that's not always the case, as Mrs. Juniper would tell you, but on this occasion, that's certainly true. We've not quite finished with awards. Where's Shay gone? Ah. Come on, see here. Come on, Snell, we haven't got long. Come on, food's getting done. Champagne will be hot by now. Is it? What have I got in my bag of tricks? Can someone help her? It's these things are not these. Thanks, Miss Mart. I knew I could rely on you. It's the and up on the stage there. Now I bet you thought I'd forgotten about this. Ha ha ha! This is the. It's hardly been worn, this, you know. I did get it when I was a wee bit thinner, and I was still running a lot. But I think if I ran every day for the next 6 years, I'll never get into this thing again. We were talking, weren't we, about how a nice tweed ensemble would set you off. So there you go, my darling. Wear it with pride, and thank you for everything that you've done over the years. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Now, mind you, on the way down there, and that's I don't want you tripping up or out. It's, well, that was the waistcoat. But the historian's tweed jacket is the one everyone wants, surely. And I thought long. No, I didn't. There was only one person who was going to get this. Philip, come on! It's, I do apologise. It's perfectly brand new. There's hardly anything on it. You're going to have to add your own elbow patches, though. But I'm sure you can do that. You can manage that these days. Bright, upstanding youth like you. There you go. Enjoy. Thank you so much. I shall see you later. And speaking of clothing, there's a wonderful tradition at Ekelant of the hoodie. Oh yes, the hoodie. As David Cameron famously once said, you had to hug. Did I say that right? Hug. Sounds German. You have to hug a hoodie. Well, I'm not sure about that. I think he's probably going to need one, given what he's been up to recently. But when I was teaching Year 10 the other day, I was aghast when the fine, upstanding... Oh, sorry, there's an escape rat here. Oh, I'll put that on. It's to clean recorders with, honestly. It's nothing sinister. He walked into a rather bemused Year 10 class and presented me with this, which I thought was absolutely wonderful. Now, I'm a bit slow on the uptake, and I thought you know where it came from. I thought there's been some appalling mistake, and what should have been on here was sheep. Being, for the first 7 years of my life, sheep were practically my only friends, and so I thought that would be it. And I don't know what you see. I'm not really up on this text speak and stuff like that. And then I finally worked it out. Got off a train. Let's see. Thanks. You do me too much honour, as always. It's an absolute pleasure. I can't let the opportunity pass. I know Mr. Williams did this, but as well, and thanks very much for taking the weight off my mind. Anyways, but I've got to say thank you not only to you lot, but also to wonderful members of staff who've accompanied you through this adventure. I'm not going to embarrass them now. They've already been clapped once. Oh, go on, let's do it again. Meredith, It's just say, Ben, Eleanor Mart, the one and only, Mr. Fabulous, Andrew Coates, and the lady whose longevity with this year group outmatches mine, Amna. Of course, where would I have been without you? And the final thoughts must go to a incredible colleague who I've done this with twice now, varying degrees of enjoyment or suffering, depending on which way you want to look at it. I've never worked with anybody who's so hardworking, who's so organised, who's so determined, who's so forthright. And good God, do we need people like that in this world. Alex. Thank you. And so the moment that I've been dreading and putting off for weeks and months and so on finally has to arrive. And for this, I'm going to have to enlist, I suppose, the assistance of one of the greatest showmen of any age of all time, and that, of course, was Napoleon Bonaparte. Thank you, Phil. C'est le beau soleil d'Austerlitz. C'est incroyable. In 1814, Napoleon was forced to abdicate and was allowed one last meeting with his old soldiers, his old guard, and it went something like this. Students of Year 13, I come before you one final time to say goodbye. And though I love you all, I cannot embrace you all. With this, I shall remember all of you. You will always be in my heart. I will be buried in this. And so, farewell, my students. Farewell, my sons and daughters. Et adieu, mes enfants. Thank you.
And so we reach the end. What can I say? I've been dreading following Mr. Kinghorn, to be quite truthful, almost as much as I dreaded getting everyone's names wrong. I hope you appreciated the effort that went into trying to get those right today. So, thank you. It's quite strange, actually. I have a speech written here, and you always have to be able to improvise, because my speech actually sounds quite a lot like other people's, because the same sort of ideas tend to come up. So forgive me, because when I improvise, things can go wrong. I have actually got form for making some real faux pas in impromptu speeches. I'm probably safer sticking to the one that's written here. And if some of the ideas are the same, it must mean they're really good ideas, because more than one person had them. So, thank you, Mr. Kinghorn. I've truly enjoyed working with you. Thank you to our Year 13 performers, who are immense. Dr. Close, for organising them. It's quite like herding cats. Whilst I'm saying thank you to all our speakers, to Mr. Williams, to Ray, to Anna and Ethan, and our guest speaker, Malay. Continuing the gratitude, Federica has been busy planning the event and has done an amazing job along with the team in the office. The Parents' Graduation Committee have been working, planning for this day for months, and I know that it's with great disappointment that they are watching this from a distance. Service Technique and Martial have worked hard to get everything ready. To rang out the 44 flags, I hope you've noticed, these represent the nationalities of this year's 89 graduates. They're not just random flags, these actually all belong to one of you. Also, much effort has gone into arranging the live streaming, and my fingers crossed that at home you're seeing this in perfect sound and vision. As ever, it's been a real Team Nations event. All these thank yous are important, but the biggest thank you goes to all of you. You really have been a pleasure to work with from the time we went off to the Camargue together and I started to get to know you until this final day. The amazing homeroom mentors. I'm going to mention them again too because they have absolutely been phenomenal. I don't know if you know, but every week we would meet on a Wednesday to discuss how you were doing, to decide on the best way forward, what we could do to try to make the experience as positive as possible. The parents at home, thank you for being so incredibly supportive all the way through this process. To all of your teachers also at home who have worked so hard to get you through the last 2 years, hopefully with enjoyment, not just getting you through, actually getting you through enjoying being at school. I have just been really proud of the fact that you've just managed to just keep on going with resilience, a word we've heard before, but actually also with really good humour. It goes a long way in life to have a sense of humour. The graduation is a summation of a school career, and I hope you look back with some pride at what you've achieved. The order we have to practice because it doesn't seem to make any sense to anybody from the outside of where people walk in and walk out, but it's based on the official joining into the foundation. And so Clara, Peter and Killian have actually been here for the longest. They all joined us on September the 5th, 2006, when they were just 3 years old. As you all know, one of my favourite songs is Respect by Aretha Franklin, mainly because I like dancing to it, as you've noticed. But respect is a central tenet of the Ekelant philosophy. Respect others, respect yourself, respect the planet, and in this way fulfill the mission of the school, which you're definitely familiar with because Mr. Williams mentioned it earlier, educating students to be global citizens with the courage and capacity to create a just and joyful tomorrow together. It's a wonderful idea. And when I look around, it becomes more than an idea, because I actually think that the people in front of me could make it happen. You have so much talent and potential. Some cases, the talent is very obvious. You've already managed to come into yourself and everyone knows that you've got real strengths. Others is maybe still a little bit hidden, but it's there. That's the thing I'm completely sure of. It is there. And what you've got to do is you've got to, over the next few years, develop those talents, develop those passions, and use them to the fullest extent. Finally, my last statement to you is that I wish that you can all be as lucky as I have been. I consider myself to be a very, very lucky person. Do you know why? Because I get up every day and do a job I love. And I hope that you can also find that in your lives. So, I hope that you've all enjoyed the ceremony. And I'm looking forward to our small, socially distanced, in groups of 15, make sure, celebration that we will now have with you all. And so, I would like to present the graduates of 2021. Sandile, if you'd like to lead us off.
First you both go out your way and
I
the
think, Jade,
vibe
you
is
can
feeling
start with your
stronger with small.
side as
Turn
well,
to
thank
a
you.
friendship turn to a bond, and that bond will never be broken. The love will never get lost. And when brotherhood come first, then the line will never be crossed. Established it on our own when that line had to be drawn, and that line is what we reach. So remember me when I'm gone. How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side.
Hiroki, Hiroki, this way. That's it. Herding cats.
Hold every memory as you go, and every road you take will always lead you home. Oh,
Over there.
it's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you
What's going there?
again. We've come a long
Here. Are they
way
going over here?
from where we began.
Finish?
Oh, I'll tell you.
Right, to all of you watching at home, thank you and goodbye. See you soon.